tried to get away for a couple days around New Year's. So I watched the Eagles-Giants game. I watched press game conferences, read your story the next day, watched the day after press conference, and everything was hunky-dory, and everybody in the front office was wonderful, and kumbaya, we love everyone.
Hasn't been hunky-dory for a while.
I saw in one column, the writer even said, Jeffrey Lurie seemed offended when there was even a suggestion there'd be any kind of shakeup in the front office.
Yeah.
I go away for a couple days. I come back on Friday afternoon. Tom Gamble's gone. Howie Roseman is promoted to a position in which he's only in charge of players' contracts, medical staff, and 6 of the parking attendants. And Chip Kelly, who maybe wasn't going to return, now has unlimited power. So what happened during that 5-day stretch that I missed?
Total chaos. And as we've come to find out, and as a lot of people probably knew going in, it wasn't really the job that Howie was doing as a talent evaluator. Mm-hmm. It was the personality. It was the personality clash. He was so insecure. He thought everybody was trying to take his job. Didn't do a half-bad job of getting talent, putting drafts together. As a matter of fact, probably a little more qualified even at this point to run things than Chip. So it's kind of a gamble. But the fact is that once Howie Roseman, made it clear that he couldn't work with Tom Gamble, and Lurie signed off on letting Gamble go out of the building. That's what touched off this whole thing with Chip. And Chip probably, I mean, we don't have any verification on it, but I'm sure this is how it went down, that he did say, look, I don't want to be here anymore unless something changes here. And Jeff Lurie, rather than risk a public relations disaster in calling his bluff and saying, well, I don't want to have to do it this way, and letting him go after 2 seasons, said, okay, we're going to restructure it this way, and hopefully you guys can play nice. It's a huge gamble.
Absolutely.
It's a huge gamble.
Don't you think, Nick, a lot depends on who he chooses to be the GM? In essence, that's the person they're going to still pick.
Right.
If that person has the ability to do the job, even though he's going to answer to Chip and Chip's going to call the shots, he can be a big asset in the area that everybody's worried about if he picks the right guy.
Yep, but is that new guy going to be the guy that can give Chip the pushback that Howie did? Hey, Chip.
That we'll find out.
That kid from Oregon, Taylor Hart, he'll be there in the 5th round. Hell, he'll be there in the 7th round. He'll be there as an undrafted. He talked him into going down. Yeah. And will Chip listen to this new guy, or will he just run the draft the way he wanted to run it last year, which would have even been worse if it wasn't for Howie stepping in and physically intervening. So I can only imagine.
So the question is Chip going to hire a guy that's a yes man to Chip, or is he going to hire a guy that really has opinions and he's going to work with?
Yeah, that's
the question.
I think the follow-up, too, in addition to an inexperienced decision-maker for Chip Kelly, we saw how he started his NFL career as a coach. Are we going to see that Maverick approach to how he handles the draft and how he handles personnel and doing something completely out of left field that may work and he will be perceived as brilliant, or it might be a colossal failure? Are you expecting a huge move?
I'm not, but nothing would surprise me at this point, like going after Mariota. Obviously, everybody's asking about that. And whoever he brings in here, he's liable to say, hey, this is what I want to have happen. But if I'm going to make a move for Mariota or for whoever, move up, way up, who's the one person I'd want to have working the phones? The new guy, myself, if I'm Chip Kelly, or Howie? Hey, Howie, come here.
Yeah, but they can't afford to give up.
They
but
can't.
They got to give up to get him.
No, I know. But
it can't happen.
If they do, they're going to need Howie involved in this. Whatever new guy they have is not going to have as much experience in getting that kind of thing done. So look out. I mean, anything is on the table right now.
We have the Redskins schedule, and I don't think anyone assumed they were going to the Super Bowl this year. But, I mean, to get 4 wins this year as we look at their schedule here, and 2 of them were against the Cowboys, the Cowboys and the Eagles, and let's be honest, neither team was actually looking very solid on those 2 days. So this is what the Redskins, aside from RG3, what else went tragically wrong with this team, and how quickly do you think with the new regime in place that they can turn things around?
I will say this. What went wrong? They had a really poor defense. They had a really poor offensive line. Yeah. And they had a gangbanger wide receiver, right? But no, I'm just. But really, the personnel wasn't. They just weren't that good to begin with, and they still had some big questions at quarterback. RG3 came back, then he got hurt again. Then the coach can't really settle in. Oh, Colt McCoy's my guy. The other guy's my. Nobody really knows, and nobody really knows next year what's going to go on because.
Well, they have to make some changes.
Yeah,
they got to make some changes in what, not in personnel even. They need some philosophical changes in their system to meet so that they can use the personnel they have.
Right,
which I'm going to get into in Joe's.
But they did bring in supposedly a really good guy
to
run things there, personnel guy, and maybe this latest reboot will be what they need.
Yeah,
you never know.
I think the biggest single thing that leaps out to me is that their defense is just appalling. I mean, they can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, they scored. Look at some of these numbers. They scored enough points to win games, but but you can't be giving up the point totals that they as easily as they gave up.
Yeah.
I mean, what I remember of them this season was watching the other teams go down the field like the Redskins were not even there. Yeah. And that in the NFL, you have to play. I mean, look at the teams that have success. So I think the Redskins need to fix the defense first and then go from there.
Well, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I think that's true, but I also think if they want to win, look, I know how everybody talks about defense, and I'm a former defensive coach myself. That was what I enjoyed. But I got to tell you something. You got to score points too, and they need some major overhaul, if not personnel, just in their philosophy on offense with the people they have. They really do, and quarterback being the number one thing they need to not change the quarterback maybe, but they got to change what they're requiring him to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. Joe, I know you're going to call me nuts, but just table it for a second.
Nuts.
Here. And you guys, if you want to call me nuts, that's fine. I said table it for a second. Follow the directions here. And I admit this is a full-out long shot because it would probably will not happen.
I know what you're going to say.
But you have RG3, who they're looking to move out of Washington.
Oh, I see.
Doesn't
where this is
his? Let me answer the question before you call me nuts,
Not
Brad.
going to wear green.
Is there any chance
No.
something gets worked out that his skill set, RG3's skill set, can be utilized here in Philadelphia?
I think Chip would take him at the right price.
Yeah.
And I would too. I mean, but the price has to be right. I mean, obviously not a first-round pick's got to be. I don't know what that price would be, but I got to feel like Chip could work with him and could make him into a productive quarterback in this system. But I think that's the long shot that would actually happen.
We'll try to go through a couple more topics here. Topic number 5. Hot stove issue. Phillies and Nationals, who has the more critical offseason? Because the Phillies are signing pretty much Slump and Aaron Harang so far. Nationals are adding some people, but I think the Nationals, this is a key year because they're headed towards the end of contracts. They're starting to get older. This might be their year if they're going to make some noise.
Well, I think I agree with that completely because the Nationals are in a position to win something.
Yeah.
I mean, they could win a World Series. And the Phillies, the only crucial thing is whether they win 70 or 75 games. I don't think it makes much of a difference. I think the Nationals, just what you said, they're not a pure young team anymore. They have some decisions to make coming up, and this might be an opportunity for them to break through and to they have, talent-wise, a World Series caliber team.
Yep. And Nick?
I'll play devil's advocate here, and I'll say the Phillies because they're at least one offseason away from being an offseason away. And if they don't make big progress here, they're going to be in the same position next year, and it's going to be a repeating cycle, kind of like what the Sixers are in. It was interesting what Brett Brown had to say last night. He had said at the end of last season that, toward the end of last season, that he thought it was going to be a 3 to 5 year rebuilding project.
Yeah.
Last night, they asked him the same question. He said, we're still 3 to 5 years away, which is an indication that they haven't made any progress. They're right back where they started from. And if the Phillies don't have a good offseason, that's where they're going to be next year at this time.